Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 36 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, and this week I'm going to show you how to make a little self-sculptured pumpkin for your decorations for the holidays. And in this, you're going to learn several different techniques using the creative feet. And I can't thank you guys enough for joining me each week for the show. I lost my mouse. There it is. Okay, so let's say hello. Hello, Tina Pansuri. I think you're New Mexico. And my microphone was just gone. Grammy's Corner, welcome. Sandy Flynn, Diane Durham. Your mom was born in Chickasha? I think I said that right. Well, thank goodness you're all still there. I got one more thing to set up here so I can function. So I was going to do a wall or door decoration, and I am still planning on doing that for Halloween. But while I was doing it, I realized it's really a pattern that I need to do, and those take longer to develop than showing you something like this. And I just thought this was a really cute idea, even for a pincushion for your desk. And I also did this while I was preparing it because I was trying to get the shape of the pumpkin. Seeing lots of different tutorials on making them, I realized that none of them really are sewn so that you can have each section be a different color. And so I did figure it out, even though it's hard to tell because I used the same fabric. But let me show you so you can see that there are seam allowances. There's a stitch for each one of these sections so that you can combine different fabric options together to create this pumpkin and end up having the pumpkin shape. So while I was doing it, I tried some other shapes. This was one of the shapes that I tried, and this is what ended up making this little bolster, which was kind of like a orange peel shape. And I really like this look as well. I think this would make beautiful pillows. What do you guys think? Would you like having one of these on your couch? And then you can make a gigantic one for your feet. But you know what you can use this for? Your elbow when you're using the Octi-Hoops. The button doesn't seem to bother me, so I'm thinking this is my new Octi-Hoop elbow pad. And it's with my favorite fabric for the year. Okay, so the secret